Chris, I'm excited to catch up with you here in Copenhagen at DTW. It's always a great time to take stock of where the telecom industry is with their adoption of AI for automation. Tell us about AI Grid. Just what's the vision here?
So what's interesting right now is that as a world, we're actually power limited in being able to get the number of GPUs on the market to meet the demand. And telcos sit actually on some very interesting assets. Telcos have got land power and shell, and in many of these cases, they have excess power that is not being fully utilized. So what we've kind of looked at, and also we've seen this move from moving out of just being training centric to inferencing truly taking over as the biggest workload. And we see this opportunity where we can have a more distributed inferencing purpose-built infrastructure to be able to serve different workloads in the most effective and efficient manner. So you combine those two trends together, the need for, and the opportunity for a more deterministic, and more distributed set of compute to serve inferencing at scale, and the fact that telcos have these assets, both at central offices, mobile switching offices, maybe even all the way out at the cell sites themselves, and then how can you orchestrate across these different compute, from the large compute all the way out to the edge? How can you orchestrate across that to land the right workload in the right place at the right time, with the right level of performance, maybe the latency, but also even security, and this, I think, and cost, right? And at the end of the day, we're doing a lot of testing right now about which are the right applications that are here today that would actually be beneficial in being more distributed, and what are some of those future applications that we think are absolutely going to need to be distributed, and testing those out in the labs. But we are seeing a lot of interest from telcos to be able to simply go and look at the power availability that they have and begin to start experimenting by putting in some GPUs in a more distributed manner and being able to create that orchestration so they can participate in the token economy.
And this isn't speculative. You all are doing some work today with AT&T and Cisco, for instance, that's really kind of showing what this looks like in action. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so AT&T and Cisco, we announced with them at GTC San Jose. They looked at it through AT&T's got one of the largest IoT businesses, and they've actually got a great partnership with Cisco in being able to deliver that connectivity for IoT across the United States, across the world. So what we've done with them is go into there are different data centers that are across the country inside of the United States, and put compute right at the edge of the network, where we can begin to do real-time intelligence on the IoT traffic that's happening. And one of the first use cases is actually around video analytics. So there's a lot of video out there today. There's an incredible amount of things that have happened where we can do real-time video search and summarization, and you can really now talk to your video and act on video in real time. And so rather than having to drag all that video back to a centralized location to be able to do analytics on it, we can now begin to do that in a more distributed manner, closer to where the actual camera feeds are coming, and being able to now provide intelligence on top of the video traffic, on top of the connectivity. And so this whole idea, for them is, providing the next layer. They've always provided that connectivity. Now, how do you provide intelligence on top of that connectivity for video traffic? But this can go across really all the IoT sensors that they have.
Yeah, so you mentioned the token economy and the advantages operators have around the assets that are already in place.
Yep.
If they really truly want to pivot their companies and open up new lines of business, what do you think the decisions they need to be making in the near term are?
So I think the first is you've got to make that decision that you want to, do you want to participate just at the connectivity layer? Or do you want to begin to look at being able to provide solutions on top of that connectivity, and marrying together the fact that they have connectivity and compute to create a solution? This is where they need to really start thinking through where do they want to go. Assuming that they want to go, and provide in solutions and potentially even outcomes for their customers, there is an amazing opportunity because they do have the infrastructure assets to be able to put compute out there. They've got the relationships that are incredible. They've got business relationships, they've got government relationships, and they have the consumer relationships. And so they're in a very interesting spot to be able to go back to their incredible customer base and say, these are new services we can provide. They should be looking at the services they already offer and say, how could AI potentially make those services better? And then you're beginning to see some really interesting things happen internationally in China, where the telcos in China have already begun to create token-based plans, right? So that's really, so I think that's a really leading indicator of saying, if we were moving down the path of offering voice and then text, and then data plans, tokens really becomes a potential next form of monetization. And so telcos should be looking at how could they begin to participate in that, because they have all these in relationships and they've got a secure relationship with that customer, which is their phone number. So these are things that I think all of them should be looking at right now.
Well, a lot of opportunity, Chris. I really appreciate you taking us through how NVIDIA is working with operators and your ecosystem partners to make this a reality.
Thanks so much. Great talking to you today.